Hello, and welcome to our special edition of EY India Insights podcast series to celebrate and showcase remarkable women leaders. I'm Sonu Iyer, your host today. I'm the executive sponsor for diversity, equity, and inclusiveness at EY. Privilege and honor to host a remarkable woman leader who stands out for her passion and commitment to create a more inclusive and equitable society for people with disabilities. Welcome, Meera. Let me introduce Meera Shenoy. She is the founder of Youth for Jobs, an inspiring woman leader who is steadfastly pushing the agenda for inclusivity and diversity. Meera set up and led India's first skilling mission, Employment Generation and Marketing Mission, EGMM as it is called, for rural and tribal youth for the Andhra Pradesh government, which demonstrated that rural and tribal youth, if skilled to needs of the market, can get jobs. EGMM influenced policy and went on to impact multiple lives. Meera followed this by working in the poverty alleviation projects of World Bank across Southeast Asia. Her next assignment was as Senior Advisor Skilling and Employment at the UNDP, supporting Mr. Ramadorai, Advisor to the Prime Minister on Skilling. She brings to her work a unique combination of understanding the community, markets, and the government. She has won several national and international awards. She writes books, conducts annual abilities photography channel, and has just set up the first center of mindfulness for disability. A very warm welcome to you, Meera. Thank you for making the time for this podcast.
It's a pleasure to be here, Sonu.
Meera, I'll start off with my questions, and I have lots to ask you. But maybe just to get you started, I want to talk about, Youth for Jobs, the platform that you have set up. What inspired you to launch Youth for Jobs, and how do you think it has helped change the face of availability of jobs for people with disabilities?
When I set up Youth for Jobs, I was very clear that I wanted to work with marginalized youth and markets because when you catch them at 20, you can influence them for the next 50 years of their life. My previous work had clearly shown this. And then I saw the ILO statistics, which says that 80% of the world's disability population lives in developing countries like India. I said, wow, if that's true, can I produce once again a model for scale in this very marginalized community for the country? Hence, the vision is that every youth with disability should be confident, independent, and have a sustained livelihood. Uh, Government officers quite often tell me what can be more beautiful, than a job for a youth with disability. That's really true because the impact of a job is not economic empowerment. It's far, far beyond. He moves from being a liability to an asset, brings quite often the highest salary home. So equations change in the community, and studies show that if you give a job or a sustained livelihood to one youth with disability, it takes the entire family out of poverty in a very sustained manner. That's our mantra, and that's what personally drives me to do this work. So, no.
Thank you for sharing that, Meera. And I really want to be able to also know a bit more about, what I know is your current passion, which is women entrepreneurs with disabilities. And it's really, really commendable that such a narrow niche area and completely ignored. And until I had spoken to you about it, I really don't think, I had thought about that this is such an important area of work which is being completely ignored. But yeah, let's hear more about women entrepreneurs with disabilities and your passion for that.
There are 300 million women with disabilities globally. They're three times less educated than men with disabilities. They're highly underrepresented in decision making. They have no voice in their communities. And yet, this segment, no one has worked it. not even those who work in gender, because of the neglecting of these intersectional issues. So it was rather surprising to me. This issue came up to uh, to the spotlight during COVID, when our call center had innumerable calls from women with disabilities, young widows, young mothers with children, all of whom said, "Listen, we also want some money in our pockets." So we said, "Okay, what can we do for you?" They said, "Give us the training classes in the afternoon." So we did just that. And we did a impact survey. In fact, McKinsey did a impact survey for us. The results were amazing. The results showed on every indicator things improved, including reduction of sexual exploitation. So I said, okay, this is not enough. We need to do more. Hence, with our partner Zero Project. Zero Project, for those who don't know, is the world's most prestigious conference for the disabled. It has a footprint in about 180 countries with about 6,000 experts, and the focus is on innovations. So we are their partner for 10 years to bring the Zero Conference to India. So last year in the Zero Conference India, I launched We Do, which is a women enterprise with disabilities entrepreneurs initiative. Um, the hope is, one, to begin with what there is already for gender, and to see how we can, whether platforms, whether funds, and to see whether we can mainstream women with disabilities into the existing gender platforms, uh, to make to make them understand that these are the most marginalized in gender. And then to look at new work, which is like working with the SHGs, where you partner with government and various stakeholders. They are so invisible that I'm really surprised. For example, we brought out a small booklet on case studies of women entrepreneurs with disabilities from India, and we really had to work so hard to get 20, good case studies. So, so the idea is that how do you shift them from being invisible to visible? Um, the program, I think, it will evolve. We've already thought about some things like to launch an award together. Um, we're bringing out now we are working on our next booklet of case studies of the South Asian countries of women entrepreneurs with disabilities. So the idea is to slowly inch forward and in a very pioneering manner, make sure that women entrepreneurs with disability also come center stage.
That's fascinating, Meera, and I know you can go on talking about it, but I want to kind of pivot this conversation to the fact that when you first started out, focusing on this area, the whole idea of taking on this project or really trying to be more inclusive of this very, very highly ignored segment of the society, it would have been very, very daunting for any other ordinary mortal, but not for you, of course. But did you also encounter some of those challenges, and which you successfully navigated for going ahead in this journey?
No, no, so no. Even for me, I had difficulties. Let me tell you. Um, we had decided that we should do what India needs. So, as a pioneer, we thought we will work first with youth with disabilities who are from the villages of India with less education, see how we can skill them right and put them into jobs. It was not easy. You go to villages, you find youth, but where are the disabled? uh, we didn't realize that companies, you may know the CEO, but the supervisor and the managers don't understand disability. So there were innumerable challenges. In fact, I thought at some point of time, am I biting off more than I can chew? So I traveled across the country talking to two kinds of people. One is youth with disabilities who were successful entrepreneurs, and second is CEOs and chairmen who had hired some youth with disabilities. And that became the book which was launched in the Jaipur Festival. Um, so these challenges, I think it's been a journey. For example, when we found that corporates were not hiring because they didn't understand disability, we launched a whole series of services for them, very low cost. And these services keep getting added as we move along. When our company networks increased, companies started asking us for educated youth with disabilities. So we started the College Connect program. Then we saw that the educational institutions don't understand disability. So we started a sensitizing program for them. When we won the MIT award, the judges there, we had won it unanimously for Asia. The judges there told us that now you have a control over the supply and demand. So you should start a job platform for youth with disabilities. So we set up Swarajability, India's first AI triggered, completely accessible job platform for youth with disabilities. It's perhaps one of the largest investment made in this space, and it really is an amazing one. We have about 1,100 companies now registered, though the platform is just, a few. I think it's about 10 months young. Uh, so what is happening is through our new products, whether it's WeDo, whether it's Swarajability, Youth for Jobs now, which is a 12-year organization, is slowly shifting from being a skilling organization to a system changer where we are working with youth beyond us. We work with NGOs, we work with governments, we work with companies, of course, associations, educational institutions to change the systems and to help them get sustained livelihood. So it's a transition we are going through, a really nice transition. And the whole thing has evolved on its own so smoothly because we keep one eye on the community and one eye on the markets.
That's so very impressive. Just hearing about Gen AI being used, and you're kind of getting corporate India also to support you in this very important purpose, which is really from a nation building perspective, a brilliant purpose. Meera, if I were to now sort of say, okay, I want to know Meera as a person. So what would you just describe Meera in one word? What is she? Who is she? What motivates her?
Um, I think impact at scale motivates me. And in this work with disability, because the youth are so marginalized, Sonu, the impact is the more marginalized the youth, the higher is the impact of a sustained livelihood on their lives. And don't forget, we see it every single day. And that really drives our work. In fact, recently we had our meeting. So I asked my team, tell me now, how many of you jump for joy every day to do their work because of the impact? How many love, how many like? Okay. I was so happy to see almost 75% said jump for joy. And of course, some said love and like, which is natural. But I think it's not just on me. And they tell various stories because I dig deeper then. So it's not just me. Every one of them experiences how the parents cry and come to them saying the useless child has got a job now and they can die in peace. So the impact on girls is magical, you know. So
Wow.
I think we really love our work.
Meera, very impressive. So impact, scale, collaboration, really, I think those are qualities that stand out in the entire body of work that you've done thus far in your journey. Meera, finally, my final question, how do you motivate, other women who want to get onto this social journey, who want to become social entrepreneurs like you, who want to be the catalyst for change in our society, in our communities? What would you say to those women? And men and women, really.
Yeah, I think you know, Sunu, there's a thriving world out there. There's a wilting world out there. I think by a small quirk of fate, we've been born in the driving world. And I think all of us are aware, how fortunate we are. So the need, I think, for everyone is to shift your focus from me to we. It's just shifting of one alphabet, M to W, but it's not so easy. And it's extremely important because then what is the need is to stop getting obsessed with your own challenges, your own problems. Everyone has problems, but to shift your focus onto the more marginalized who need support, and then your own problems become smaller. And it's only then, if you shift your focus from me to we, that together we can leave behind a beautiful, inclusive world.
What a powerful note to end on. Shift the focus from me to we, and we can leave behind a legacy that everyone will be proud of. Thank you so much, Meera Shenoy, for joining us today on our podcast. It was a real pleasure having you.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me, Sonu.
Thank you. So that's the wrap on our first episode on this special edition of EY India Insights podcast, where we want to be able to bring to you various women who are really, really shaping the landscape in our country today. We'll come back for another episode soon. Stay tuned.